My grandfather, back when I lived in Spanish Harlem, used to go on the Hudson River Day Line to New Paltz, New York. And he used to go up and he'd stay at this hotel. And my grandfather, as I said, was a drinker. And he would go on these little escapades, and if there was a woman that was there, I have no idea. I was not there, and stories were not fondly told, if any. But I guess he did his thing, and he decided that he was going to be a farmer. Not he, but that he had plans for my father. And he informed my father that he wanted to take him to get a suit. My father asked why. He said, well, I want you to look good, and we're going to go up to the Hudson Valley, up to New Paltz. So he took him, and my father got a suit. And he and his dad got on the Hudson River Day Line and went up to New Paltz, New York. And he told him, he said, Pete, keep yourself busy, and who knows where my grandfather was or had gone for the day or whatever. But he said, go to some farmers and find out about farming, ask them questions, see what it takes to be a farmer. And keep in mind, here was a kid that was given that task. My dad took off, walked, took a carriage, whatever it was in those days, a horse and carriage, and went from farm to farm. And people really didn't know him, so to speak. They knew of the name, they knew my grandfather's name, my mother's father was there longer, and things like that, but they didn't really know him. And he would ask questions. He said, I'm thinking of getting into farming. So the man or whoever it was would say, what do you know about farming, Pete? He said, nothing. He said, well, why do you want to get into farming? He said, well, that's what my father wants me to do. I have to provide for my brothers and sisters. And keep in mind, he wasn't the oldest, he wasn't the youngest. He was about third or fourth out of 9. And he did as he was told. And he went to various farms and asked questions. How do you grow a tree? Where do you get them? How do you trim them? How do you fertilize them? How do you spray them? Think about that for a second. From zero to a farmer. It's called a crash course. I'd call it a plane heading toward at about 1,000 miles an hour, 100 feet off the ground. But he did. No questions asked. And they went back and forth on a dayliner. And my father kept picking up more and more and more and more things. Keep in mind, my grandfather had bought, as I told you, close to 300 acres of property that my father would eventually farm. And he learned. Long, tough, arduous task. But again, no questions asked. Just do it. We need it. We want you to do it. I want you to do it. He was the disciplinarian. He was the patriarch. Or so he thought. And my father did. And he became a farmer. And little by little, he started doing things by planting and got an old tractor with a plow, and he got a couple of horses, and he would put the strap around his back and have two horses leading a plow, and he'd push the plow down into the earth and make rows so that they can grow to start the crops so that they can eat tomatoes, strawberries, raspberries, currants, whatever it was to bring money in so he could sustain his family. And that was the beginning of his farming days in the Hudson Valley.